OMG, Chloe, you seriously need to sit down for this. The story my friend from Korea told me this time is an all-timer. It's giving true crime documentary, but like way darker. No cap. So this was a cold case for 12 years, and it all starts when this veteran detective, let's call him Choi Jin-hook, that's an alias, reopens the file, and the vibe in his office is just so grim. It smells like old paper and dust. The first thing he grabs is a crime scene photo. And Chloe, listen, in the middle of the picture is this grandma lying on the floor, but her entire face is covered in duct tape. Like they didn't even leave her a final expression, just completely erased her. Can you even? It's so creepy. The victim's name on the file was Grandma Kang In-suk, alias. In her village, she was a total social butterfly, super generous, always smiling, and just like that, her time stopped on a sunny afternoon in the fall of 2005. That day, around 4 p.m., a neighbor, Oh Son-hwa, alias, went over to pay back some money she owed. She said the air smelled like dirt and flowers, but the moment she stepped into the yard, it felt weirdly silent. The front door, which was usually wide open, was just slightly ajar, like just enough for a finger to slip through. She called out, "Ma'am, are you home?" No answer. Instead, a single fly buzzed out from the crack in the door. Ugh, I can't even imagine. So Senhwa pushes the door open and her world just fell apart right there. The house was like horribly quiet. The grandma was on the living room floor. And get this, her hands and feet were bound with duct tape, obviously, but the killer had also ripped out a phone line and a charger cord to tie her up again and again. The knots were apparently super intricate. Like, this was planned. But the worst part was her face. The killer had wrapped it from her forehead to her chin, covering her eyes, nose, and mouth completely. Not a single space to breathe. It's giving total psychopath. The autopsy report came out a few days later, and it was even more messed up. Under the tape, her body was covered in bruises, broken ribs, ruptured organs, but the direct cause of death wasn't the beating. It was asphyxiation, which means the killer beat her while she was alive, made her feel that terror, and then taped up her face to let her die slowly. Like, how twisted is that? And the scene was staged to look like a robbery, but it was a total fail. The closets and drawers were all open, but the only things missing were her gold ring and bracelet. A bank book with the equivalent of like $30,000 and a wad of cash were left untouched. It was never about the money. Totally shady AF. The killer was so meticulous that they left no other clues, so the case went cold for 12 years. Everyone probably forgot about it. But then, Chloe, science finally came in for the win. After 12 years, the National Forensics Lab calls, we found a fingerprint. The only trace the killer left. It was a tiny 1 centimeter partial print found on the inside of the duct tape roll, on the cardboard tube, a ghost print that finally found its owner. The print belonged to a guy named Jong Tae-suk, alias, a construction worker who lived like an hour away from the crime scene. He had a record, so everyone thought, this is the guy. Finally, after 12 years, it's over. Or so they thought. The detective, Choi Jin-hook, got this weird feeling as he looked into the guy's life. This dude was a total slob, just threw his tools and materials everywhere. His toolbox was full of all kinds of tape, covered in dust. It looked like a place where if someone snagged a roll of tape, he would never ever notice. And that was some serious foreshadowing. So Jong Tae-suk's trial was a huge deal, and the verdict was a major plot twist. The jury found him not guilty. No cap. A fingerprint was found, but he was acquitted. His lawyer's argument was wild. It's true that his fingerprint is on this tape, but there is no evidence that he was at the crime scene. None. No witnesses, no motive. What if the real killer picked up this tape that my client lost at a construction site and used it in the crime? Can you ruin a man's life based on that one horrible coincidence? It's insane, right? The case is back to square one. Detective Choi was about to lose it, but then he got obsessed with another clue, the knots. Those super weird, intricate knots used to tie up the victim, a killer's signature left behind subconsciously. He thought this had to be more definitive than a fingerprint. So, in the interrogation room, he casually gives Jong Tae-suk a rope and says, "Hey, tie this for me." The guy just smirks and ties a knot. Your heart would be pounding, right? But the result? The forensics expert said, the method is similar, but it's decisively a different knot. Wow. The fingerprint is his, but the knot isn't. The mystery just got even more tangled. So Detective Choi goes back to the initial case files from 12 years ago. There had to be something they missed, right? And there was. Another suspect, a coffee cup left in the sink at the crime scene. On its white porcelain rim was a clear crimson lipstick stain. The prime suspect for the lipstick was a woman named Park Mi-young, who was so close to the grandma that she called her Mom. She was basically an adopted daughter. But this woman, she was apparently very fragile, always looked terrified. A month after the murder, the police arrested her. And then the most insane thing happened. Park Mi-young confessed to everything. We fought over money. Grandma yelled at me. I got so angry, I hit her with a vacuum cleaner pipe. Her statement was so detailed and her tears looked so real, everyone thought, finally, the monster has a face. But Chloe, here comes another plot twist. The prosecutor released her. The confession was a lie. Her small frame couldn't possibly inflict the brutal injuries on the grandma. The supposed murder weapon, the vacuum pipe, was perfectly clean. And the lipstick DNA didn't even match hers. So why would she confess? The reason is so messed up. She said a monk came to her and prophesied that if she didn't take the fall for the crime, her own son would die. But get this, the monk was actually a relative of one of the detectives on the case. It was a disgusting setup. The cops and the shaman monk ganged up on a scared woman to coerce a false confession just to close the case. So the case is back to square one, and Detective Choi is left with just 3 fragments on his desk. The first fragment, Jong Tae-suk's fingerprint. The second fragment, the killer's unique knot. The third fragment, Park Mi-young's false confession. They all seem to point somewhere, but they never connect to form a single picture. My friend said Detective Choi would sit in his office late at night, tying a rope to his desk leg, trying to replicate the killer's knot over and over, but he could never get it right. It wasn't his habit. So who was the real killer? Was it a third person, a shadow, who got their hands on Jong Tae-suk's tape, left Park Mi-young's lipstick stain, and used their own bizarre knot to choke the life out of the grandma? Seriously, how creepy is that?